Hare Krishna, good morning.
Hare Krishna.
We will today discuss ISOPANISAD,
Hare Krishna.
a set
Said, Maharaj.
of three verses, four verses from verse 4 till 7, which explains the vision, the spiritual vision needed to see Ishvara, the absolute truth. And last Monday we discussed already the first verse of this year, number 4. So today we will discuss 5, 6, 7. That Om Jnanati Mandasya Jananja Sanakha Saksuni Dhammena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhuttale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namani Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachani Desatani. So today we will start with mantra 5, which is on the screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tate chati tanai chati. Tadure tat fantike. Tat antar asya sarvasya. Tat sarvasya bhayata. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He's far away and is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet is outside of everything. So that is, again, the enigmatic, puzzling nature of the verses of the ISOPANISAD. So, in the purport, we will Srila Prabhupada makes the following points. There are 9 paragraphs. The first paragraph, Supreme must be inconceivable. We will discuss about that inconceivable nature of the absolute truth. How the absolute truth is far, yet near. And then Srila Prabhupada discusses deity worship, the meaning of nirguna and saguna worship, 2 kinds of worship, and how the Lord pervades everything, yet is separate. So, here, this is Shiva Goswami speaks about in the Satsandarbhas. The Lord is inconceivable. Something can be logic, according to the laws of logic. Yes. Some things are illogical, but Krishna has nothing to do with logic or illogic. He's translogical, because he makes all the laws and is above the laws of material nature. So what's the difference between illogical and translogical? Illogical means that it's below the logical level. And above is translogic. So what does it mean, below and above logic? That below logic means something that does not make sense. Something is so insensible, so silly, that it cannot stand the scrutiny of logic. That a person comes along and says that I'm God. Srila Prabhupada would reply, I'm the Queen of England. So it's absurd. But translogical means that in whose present logic cannot stand. Like I said, I think last time, Madhvacharya, when he was already a well-known Acharya, and he memorized practically all the verses of the Bhagavatamas. Sukadev Goswami. And he was very famous, and a student of a great Buddhist master came, and the student said, my master wants to debate with you about the absolute truth. Acharya replied, the absolute truth cannot be understood by logic. And there was no debate. So that's, yeah. So translogic means that in whose present logic cannot stand. God is so great and supreme, and is superior to our logical faculty. Thus logic becomes supreme. That doesn't make God into a secular God who is under our control of logic. No, logic is subordinate to God. Let logic be our minister, not our master. Like a torchlight. No, that's the next verse. Yeah, okay, we will come to that. Logic, yeah, a torchlight at night may help us to see things in the light. But if I point to the sky with the torchlight, with the intention to see the sun, the torchlight is not useful for us to find the sun in the sky. Then the sun rises on its own and we can see the sun without the help of the torchlight. We do not deny the role of logic, that's okay, but we need to use logic to understand what is right and what is wrong. That logic that does not substitute for experience. Like if I go to the doctor to find out my disease, then I need to use my logical faculty to understand what the doctor is saying. Now, is it possible that just using our logic faculty that we can understand something beyond our experience? So the process of medication may lead to recovery of the disease, but that does not mean that by logically understanding the cure, that I will become healthy. No, we need to take the medicine, the treatment. So rather than rejecting the absolute truth as illogical, we need to see the absolute as translogical. So how the absolute truth is far yet near. How is that? So we will look at, Srila Prabhupada explained in the second paragraph about opposite statements that does not make sense. But there is a paradox. Paradox means opposite seeming statements that make sense at a deeper level. So we will get examples of that. So the least corrected people are the most correct. Interesting. The least correct people are the most correct. Because they don't need correction. Similarly, the scriptures give us contradictory statements. The deeper meaning must be understood by contemplation. So, like we have the Lord is far away and close by. So there is the Paramatma aspect of the absolute truth. Sarvasya Sanifishto is in everyone's heart. So he's closer than the closest. That is in our heart, the soul of the soul. But at the same time, there is Bhagavan having pastimes in the spiritual world, that far away, that the Brahma Samhita says, Pantastiko tisatavatsara samprahyamo vayo atapi manaso munipung gavanam sopyasti papatya simya avishintya tattva kovinnamani purusham tamam bhajam. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of mundane extended over 1,000 millions of years. So even the great sages, it said here, are bewildered about the absolute truth. The Lord is far away, so we can't reach him, and at the same time, he's in the heart. So, as Brahman is all-pervading, Brahman is everywhere. Brahmanoi Pratishtaman, the basis of everything, Krishna says. But as someone offers Krishna food, he accepts that, so he must have hands also, right? That brings us to deity worship, I think. These are all things we will discuss at the end. That. Then Srila Prabhupada speaks about deity worship. He says, to say that God cannot appear personally is limiting him. So we see here a big elephant and a child, right? Yeah, friends. But the elephant sit down so that the child can touch the elephant. That can touch, yeah. So there are those who are against deity worship. They want to destroy the deities. But how can you limit God to say that he cannot appear in matter? That he's unlimited. He can appear in a limited form and still be unlimited. So So it was Pillai Lokacharya. He gave the example of the elephant. The child wants to touch the elephant, but cannot reach it. For the child, it is not possible, but if the elephant comes down, the child can touch the head of the elephant happily. So with our material senses, we cannot see the Lord. But when the Lord descends from the spiritual realm to the material realm, we can perceive him. So God is so unlimited that he can appear in a limited form and still remain unlimited. God's prime concern is that to make himself accessible to us. When Krishna manifests himself as the deity made of matter, the deity becomes spiritualized. Yeah, we will come to that. So Krishna is not concerned primarily with his mercy and his accessibility. He's concerned primarily with his mercy and his accessibility. Therefore, he comes down as the deity. He manifests to us and becomes accessible to us. Of course, everyone knows probably the story of Sakshi Gopal deity, who became a witness. Yeah. So the deity, the point is a deity becomes manifest, but it does not become manifest to show his omnipotence. No, the purpose is to be accessible to the devotees, to give them an opportunity to serve him. So people of other religions consider their scriptures sacred. The sacred of the scripture is understood because of the wisdom in the scriptures. That when Krishna manifests as the deity, then he manifests himself to give us an opportunity to serve him. So the purpose of the scripture is to give us wisdom, and Krishna as the deity comes so that we can serve him. So there are different levels of seeing the scriptures. Jatmaya, Manomaya, Shinmaya. Jadamaya is it's just a statue. Why are people worshipping a statue? If someone makes a statue of a film star, then the film star has nothing to do with the statue. Then you have Manomaya. There are others who say a person perceives the deity as a symbolic presentation of the absolute truth. The Lord is formless. They think that is their philosophy. It is our own philosophy. They think, yes, he's formless, but one needs to ascribe a form to the Lord, to give him a form, because one wants an exchange of emotions. The flag is a symbol of nationalism, patriotism. The flag invokes feelings of patriotism. The idea of a flag is wrong, as it is representing something abstract. A person who think that the absolute truth is formless see the deity only to invoke devotion. So everyone has his Ishtadev and can worship him to his choice until he has understood that God has no form, and then you go beyond it. That's a false philosophy. So this is an idea that is not in the scripture, these things. That's an invention, concoction, a mockery of impersonalism. It's a monstrous idea. Impersonalists see the deity as a medium to go to impersonalist realization. The connection between the flag and patriotism is only a conception and imagination. We cannot ascribe these kinds of forms to the absolute truth based on our imagination. That's incorrect. There is a direct connection between the picture and the person. An ex-man keeps a photo of his wife in his wallet and then exchanges the picture. And if he would exchange the picture, his wife would be furious. Another picture, someone else. So the descending symbolism is that the person has an original reality, and that representation is based on that reality. It must be based on the original nature of God, and that is depicted in the form of the deity. So Krishna is a supreme Lord and is all-pervading. He can manifest wherever he wants. The deity of the supreme Lord is a manifestation, non-different from him. So it's non-different manifestation of the absolute truth. Therefore, the deity is non-different from the absolute Sinmaya. That's the point. That, of course, in Bhakti Asamrita Sindhu, Atash Krishna Nama Adi Navavet Chayam Indriya Saving Mopi Ijivatu Svayameva Sprat Yatam. Because Krishna's form, qualities, pastimes, etc., are on the absolute platform, material senses cannot therefore appreciate them. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified. And then one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. So the Lord will become manifest to us when his senses when our senses are purified. Purified by chanting, by hearing about Krishna, devotional service. So the Lord is merciful. He wants to be accessible to us, and therefore he manifests as the deity. When we are elevated to Krishna consciousness, then we can see, unless that time we need to qualify ourselves by purification through devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada, referring to Bhagavad Gita 4:11, thus for the surrendered soul is always within reach, whereas for the unsurrendered soul is far, far away and cannot be approached. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the word guna means qualities. But guna can also mean modes. Guna, quality of guna, means modes. So impersonalists refer to it as qualities. So the absolute truth has no qualities, they say. And they say saguna means having qualities. But the word guna refers also to the modes. Guna, sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, tamas, ignorance, and the Lord is transcendental. So nirguna may also mean the Lord has nothing to do with the material modes. It's transcendental, it's beyond the modes, right? So nirgunika means no qualities also, but it can also mean no effect of the modes. So impersonalists claim that the Lord has no qualities, but the devotees explain that the Lord is unaffected by the modes. That's a different meaning. So impersonalists claim that the Lord has no qualities, but the devotees explain that he's unaffected by the modes. Who is right? Shiva Goswami speaks about this in the Sandarbhas. And also, Baladev Vidyabhushan speaks about that in the Govinda Bhasya. So the impersonalists say that the absolute truth is pure consciousness. But saying that the absolute truth is pure consciousness, pure consciousness is also a quality, right? To say that there is no quality in the absolute truth is reducing the absolute truth to zero. That's called reductionism. So we have the prayers of Gajendra. Here we have the prayers of Gajendra. So let's see. Don't read it all. This is okay. I can see at least. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that's Gajendra, who is praying to the Supreme Lord, yes. Yes, crocodile at its leg, and is praying. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no material birth, activities, name, form, qualities, or faults. To fulfill the purpose for which the material world is created and destroyed, he comes in the form of a human being, like Lord Ram and Lord Krishna, by his original internal potency. He has immense potencies, and in various forms, all free from material contamination. He acts wonderfully. He is therefore the Supreme Brahman. I offer my respects to him. So Gajendra is in danger, caught by the crocodile, and he's praying to the Supreme Lord. It's a personal absolute truth who comes and rescues Gajendra, and Gajendra goes back to the absolute truth. So the Lord has no qualities of this material world, but he has transcendental qualities. The Nirguna refers to one who has no material qualities. Gajendra prays in this verse here, he says, Arupa Yolo Rupaya, the Lord has no form, but at the same time has many forms. How is it possible that the Lord has no forms and has many forms? Nama Acharya Karmane. This is factually amazing. Nirguna refers to the modes, and the absolute truth has nothing to do with the modes. So the Lord has the most attractive spiritual form. The Srila Prabhupada gives the example also of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj said that the Lord is everywhere, and that the Lord is manifested through a pillar. Of course, that when his father, Hiranyakasipu, said to Prahlad, so now where is your God? That is in the pillar. And Prahlad said yes, because he saw the Lord in the pillar. And the Lord came out. So Prahlad Maharaj says that the Lord is everywhere. So does Prahlad Maharaj go and offer obeisance to the pillar? No. He respects the pillar because the Lord is there. But he also understands that the Lord is different from the pillar. Prahlad does not offer prayers to the pillar, but to the Lord who is sitting on the throne. The Lord pervades everything and at the same time transcends everything. That's something beyond logic, translogical. This brain is material. It's made of the modes of nature. With something of the modes of nature, you cannot understand transcendence. You need spiritual realization to the soul, to the heart, to Dharmi Buddhi Yoga. That's Buddhi Yoga, spiritual intelligence. So it's present everywhere in this world, but this existence is not limited to this world. When Krishna opened his mouth to show to Yasoda Maya, Yasoda saw the whole universe expand. He saw the whole universe. So Krishna is also separate from the world. He transcends everything. So she saw the whole universe in his mouth. There are two schools of thought here. Yeah. Pantheism. Pantheism says everything is God, so this table is God. Pantheism. God pervades everything, but transcends everything and is beyond everything. That is pantheism. The other is pantheism. Srila Prabhupada concludes. He concludes, the fact is that there is nothing but God within and without. Everything is a manifestation of its different energies, like the heat and light emanating from a fire. And in this way, there is oneness among its diverse energies. Although there is oneness, however, the Lord in his personal form still enjoys unlimitedly all the pleasures enjoyed mindedly by the tiny part and parcel living entities. Yeah. Resting in this high philosophy, not easy to understand. That was mantra 5. We will now go to mantra 6. Let's see. So, let's stop for a moment. Okay, any question? We have 5 to 10 minutes for questions before we go to the next mantra.
Who are forced like worship, like even with faiths, they don't have these Hindus and Vaishnavas for worshiping. How do we understand like that deity worship is fun even for them? Even for someone who is trying to become God conscious.
Yeah. Of course, in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which you will study, it's clearly mentioned fate in the modes of nature. So you have different fates in the modes of nature. And they have different conception of the absolute truth according to their material nature. It is unfortunate because as long as one is in the modes of nature, one cannot understand anything of the absolute truth. I give you, because we may be wondering, when I came to this movement, I was thinking, God is a blue cowboy. I was thinking maybe, if God is a blue coward boy, then why does nobody of all the other religions, millions and millions and millions of people, have that realization that God is a coward boy? But then we must understand more deeply. We will understand that when we get deeper in the Gita. Krishna gives 3 levels of confidence and knowledge. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. They are all the absolute truth. But some see the absolute truth as Brahman. These are impersonalists, Ajnanis. And some, they understand the absolute truth as Paramatma, which are the yogis. That's the perfection of yogi. And the devotees see him as Bhagavan, but they understand that Brahman and Bhagavan is an expansion of Krishna. Brahman is his energy, Paramatma is his expansion. Now the lowest level of understanding is Brahman Realization. Brahman Realization is the Brahma Buddha platform. When one is free from material desires, that when one is liberated. Brahma Buddha Pashanatmana Shoshtina Ganshati. That's the first step to understand the absolute truth. You must be liberated. But then I came across a verse at the end of the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam. It's also in the Bhagavad Gita. But it says that among many thousands of persons who are perfect in the knowledge of liberation, among Kota, Krishna says, among millions of those who have reached perfection in the knowledge of liberation, one may become a devotee. And this devotee who, if developed unalloyed devotion, can understand me. Among millions who are perfect in the knowledge of liberation. That's the beginning. So where is that knowledge of liberation in all these religions? It's not there. It begins with understanding I'm not this body. I'm a spirit soul, different from the body. Nobody wants to accept that. So that's just the beginning of understanding liberation. So how can you strive for liberation if you don't know what is to be liberated? And what's the goal of life? Nobody knows. And that's the point. They cannot understand that. So they are in the modes of material nature. It's not to say that we have to reject all these religions. There are those who are coming close to right understanding. I'm from Christian background, and Srila Prabhupada was in Australia by the followers of Saint Franciscus from Assisi. They are also vegetarian. And he told them, you are also devotees. Because they understand, they can understand something. How God is a person. That is the Francis from Assisi saw he saw that in the trees, in the flowers, the plants, the animals, that he understood these are our brothers. They are also spirit souls. He understood that, so that's the beginning. He understood. But mostly in religions, we don't find that understanding. That if you don't know who you are, you don't know what's the goal, who God is. No way to make advancements, just a mockery. And real knowledge is translogical. Therefore, it must come down from Krishna to the Guru Parampara. And by that, we get the knowledge. We accept it in the right, with humility. Does that make sense? Thank you. Anyway, let's pause for 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
I have one question. Can I ask?
Okay.
But not from this class, not from first class when we were discussing Shrutis and Smritis.
Yeah.
So now we discussed that Shruti is revealed by absolute truth.
Yeah.
And Smriti is like
The
composed
sages
by
commenting. Yeah.
And then Maharaj we were classifying, and then Bhagavad Gita comes under Smriti.
No, I did not say that.
No, not.
Yeah, no, the Bhagavad Gita is a part of Shruti within the Mahabharata, which is Smriti. Why is the Bhagavad Gita Shruti? It's spoken by Krishna himself.
Right.
So it's the greatest theistic science. The Vedas are also coming directly from Krishna, the absolute truth. So also Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaks in the Bhagavatam, the Uddhav Gita. That's also direct Shruti spoken, and therefore it's Apaurisheya. It's not from human origin. Okay, good. So we will reconvene at 10 to 11, 7 minutes. Hare Krishna, we will continue with mantra 6. That we'll first read the mantra. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani vanapashyati sarvabhutesha satmanam tatona vichogupshate. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his part and parcels, and who sees the Lord, sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. Srila Prabhupada explains this is the description of the Mahabharata. The great personality will seize everything in relationship to the supreme personality of Godhead. So we discussed verse 4 and 5. Ishvara is inconceivable to our normal intelligence. And now in verse 6 and 7, we will discuss that first develop spiritual vision by seeing worldly things, events, and people with equanimity. Seeing Krishna in everything, learning to see that. And then at the end, verse 8, this vision developed further and directed to Ishvara. Ishvara helps us to understand him. So, this is a section we are discussing now from 4 to 8. 4 and 5 we discussed already. The section here is about developing spiritual vision and see the absolute truth in this world. So, it's described in many scriptures, described in the Bhagavatam, it's described in Nectar of Devotion, that it's described also in Nectar of Instruction, different levels of devotees. In the first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the Kanishta Adhikari, the second paragraph about the Madhyam Adhikari, and the third paragraph about the Uttam Adhikari. And then he speaks about one as false versus real. That first. The Uttam Adhikari, this is from the Bhagavatam. It's verse 11 to 45, 11th canto. So, Srila Prabhupada says here that the personality will seize everything in relation to the Supreme. That, so that's the highest, the Uttam Adhikari. Above the Madhyam Adhikari is the Uttam Adhikari, which sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. Such devotee does not discriminate between an atheist and a theist, but sees everyone as a part and parcel of God. So when one is in Uttam Adhikari, one cannot preach. It's not possible to preach with that vision, because you see everything. You see everything as more advanced than you. That it does not discriminate between an atheist and a theist. How can you preach that? But he sees everyone as a part and parcel of God. He knows that there is no essential between the vastly learned Brahman and the dog in the street, because both of them are parts and parcels of God, although they are engaged in different bodies on account of the different qualities of their activities in their previous lives. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada was an Uttam Adhikari, but he came down to the Madhyam Adhikari platform to preach. But he remained an Uttam Adhikari. But that's what the verse says here. This is in the 11th canto. Because this is a discussion in the 11th canto between the Nava Yogendras and King Nimi. Nava means 9. 9 sons of King Rishabhadeva. King Rishabhadeva had 100 sons. And 9 became Paramahamsas, the Nava Yogendras. And they came to they came through space to the earth to visit King Nimi. And King Nimi was very enthusiastically receiving them, and he asked a question to each of them. And he asked a question about the 3 levels of devotees. And one of the Navajogendras, his name is Havir, replied, Shihavir Uvacha, Sarva Bhuteshya Pashat Parvam Atmana, Bhutani Bharvanatmani Esa Bharvatottama. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of souls, the Supreme Personality of God, Sri Krishna. Constantly, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything exists eternally situated within the Lord. So he sees only the spiritual energy, nothing material. That he sees everything. He sees everything as a servant of Krishna, and he thinks himself the most fallen servant. All the other are better. That is inconceivable to understand that. But he's the highest. That then we have the lowest, the Kanishta. The Kanishta, Shihavir says to King Nimi, Acharya me vaharaye puchamya shradayate, natat bhaktis sanyasu sabhakta bhagatam smitaha. The devotee who faithfully engages in worship of the deity in the temple, but does not behave properly toward other devotees or people, is called a prakrita bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. Now, Srila Prabhupada writes here about the Kanishta. The Kanishta is the lowest stage of realization. It goes to a place of worship, such as a temple, church, or mosque, according to its religious faith, and worship there according to scriptural injunctions. Devotees in this stage consider the Lord to be present at the place of worship and nowhere else. They cannot ascertain who is in what position in devotional service, nor can they tell who has realized the Supreme Lord. Such devotees follow the routine formulas and sometimes quarrel among themselves, consider one type of devotion better than another. These Kanishta-adhikaris are actually materialistic devotees, but simply trying to transcend the material boundary to reach the spiritual plane. So that's all of us. We are trying to come to the spiritual plane. And we understand the deity is God. But because our heart is still impure, we cannot see who is advanced and who is not advanced. And by that we make offenses to devotees. So that's a principle. If you want to love Krishna, you must love also his part and parcels and treat them respectfully. Otherwise, this humility and this respect is very important. So here, yeah, you have different kinds of people. You have materialists. They are attached to matter, to things in this world. And they are not attached to Krishna. They don't even know mostly about God or Krishna. No interest. Yes, we go to God when we need him. Then we pray to God. We are in difficulty. But when everything is going his way, God is not in the picture. They are attached to things in this world. And the Mayavadis, impersonalists, they are trying to become detached from everything in this world, but also detached from Krishna. And then you have the Sahajas. They want to be attached to matter and attached to Krishna at the same time. But that doesn't work. If your attachment to sense gratification is high, your spiritual life is low. If your spiritual life goes up, then the attachment to this world comes down. But they want like this. It's not possible. The devotees are detached from matter. They understand this Krishna's energy because we use it for him, and they are attached to Krishna. So these are different levels. Attachment. So, so like the Uttamadikar is attached to Krishna. The conception of universal brotherhood must be learned from an Uttamadikar and not from a foolish person who does not properly understand the individual soul or the Supreme Lord Super Soul, or the Supreme Lord Super Soul expansion, who dwells everywhere. That. So how can we see? We will come to that. So the pure devotee is detached from matter and attached to Krishna. But the Prakriti Bhakta, the beginner, the Kanishta, is attached to Maya and to Krishna. That's a problem, that we want both. And the Madhyam, the one who is between, he realizes that God's presence is not just in the deity. It extends beyond also. So these are important points we must remember. So the Prakriti Bhakta is the Kanishta, the beginner. We have heard a few days from Tulsi Babu about Vajrana Kriya and the struggle to get free from Maya. So we struggle to get free from Maya. That's the Prakriti Bhakta that is still attached to Maya, does not want to give it up, want to sleep long in the morning, that sits in the Bhagavatam class but thinks of the breakfast. When is this going to end? So this is our situation. But the Madhyam is already liberated, is further. That he realizes he wants to preach, he likes it. You know, Krishna is in everyone's heart. Experience Krishna's reciprocation in so many situations. So it's not only in the deity, he finds Krishna in his heart, and now he reciprocates with others, and he starts to see that. That's a higher level. But the pure devotee is only interested in serving Krishna, and it doesn't see matter anymore. That no attachment. So the Madhyamadikar is described by Havir Yogendra, the King Nimi. Ishvara tatadineshu vansheshu tvivatshusa prema maitra kipomekspeksha yadkaroti samadhyama. So Ishvara, is Krishna, is the controller. Ishvara, Tat Adineshu, he tries to develop love for Krishna. And he sees, Bali Sheshu, Ishvara Tat Adineshu, Prema Maitri Kripapeksa. He tries to develop love for Krishna, and then the Tvivatsa, those who are envious, he avoids them, that the devotees of Krishna, he tries to develop friendship for them. And yes, so Krishna, he offers him his love to Krishna, friendship with the devotees, and the ignorance, he tried to preach to them, abolisation. Preach to them, those who are innocent, who are not atheistic or envious of Krishna. And but those who are envious, he disregards them, because Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. One should not explain the secret of devotional service to those who are not austere and not my devotees. Krishna says that at the end, after 1866, after he tells us to surrender, he says there's no one more dear than me, than the preacher of Krishna consciousness, and there will never be one more dear. But this secret of devotional service, one who studies it, worships me with his intelligence. But this secret should only be explained to those who are my devotees and not austere, not to those who are envious of me. So that's an important guideline for the preacher, that you should find out who is ready and open for it. Those who are envious and antagonistic, we avoid them. Because if we preach to them, they become angry and they make offenses. And there is going all their chance for advancement gone. So that's the Madhyamadikar, it's the preacher. And to preach effectively, you must know who Krishna is, and that the goal is developing love for Krishna. You must know who are devotees and cultivate friendship with them. And you need to know who is innocent and preach to them and avoid those who are envious. So that's the Madhyamadikar. Krishna, yeah, the Madhyamadikar. The Madhyamadikar behaves differently toward these four classes of person. So the Supreme Lord, the devotees, innocent, and the atheist. He adores the Lord, considering the object of love. He makes friendship with the devotees. He tries to awaken dormant love of God in the hearts of the innocents, and he avoids the atheists who they write the very name of the Lord. Go a little further. You will hear about these three categories again in nectar of devotion, in nectar of instruction. It will come up again and again. And we must learn during this Bhakti Shastri course to ascertain that where we are obviously in the Kanishta platform, but where in the Kanishta platform? There are different levels. After 30 years, you can still be a Kanishta, but nearly liberated. That's much different than the beginner. That beginner, because the Madhyamadikar is on the liberated platform. He's liberated. We will learn in Bhagavad Gita what's liberated. 1854, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta, Prasanatmana, Shosti, Nakangsti, Samasavesha, Bhutshu, Madbhaktim, Navate, Param. Brahma Bhuta means the beginning of the spiritual platform, liberated. And what's the symptom? Prasanatma. You are always peaceful. Think about it, peaceful in this moment. It's a very high platform. Because if you reach that platform, you don't take birth again. If you come to the Madhyama platform, you don't take birth again. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said to us, you should come to the Madhyam platform, at least in this life. Come to that platform. Because Nasushtina Kanshati, that's the symptom of the Brahma Buddha platform. When there's not lament anymore and there's no desire anything in this world anymore. All your material desires are gone. Purified in the heart. Purified. Material desires are gone. That's when I've surpassed the level of anartha nivritti, the purification stage of the heart. And that can be attained by chanting the holy name without offenses. That's not easy. But if we become purified, healthy will advance on the path. So it's stages of spiritual development. 3 stages are described here. So this is the development from the Kanisha to the Madhyam is building up to see where Krishna, where we can find Krishna everywhere in this world. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I'm the doer. I'm the doer. Krishna says, he's the doer. We're also doing by desiring, but that's all we do. That's the karta. That will be explained in Bhagavad Gita 18:14. There are 5 factors of action. And in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 8 to 12, how the one who with divine vision sees that when he's walking, speaking, evacuating, doing everything in this world, that he factly does nothing. It's a super soul who does it. Super soul is moving my hand and let me speak now. As a soul, I'm only desiring. But if Krishna does not want me to speak, I cannot speak. That's just that reality. So that's all explained in Bhagavad Gita. How by hearing Bhagavad Gita, by hearing the Bhagavatam, we come to understand who Krishna is and how he acts in this world as his expansion of the super soul. Maya Prakshana Prakati Chuta Cheta Characham, Krishna says, I'm the superintendent of material nature. I control everything in this world as a super soul. So we must learn and hear that by hearing the Bhagavatam and by chanting and by doing service, our heart becomes purified. And we come to realize, oh, I'm not this mind. But then when I'm not this mind, that means I have to learn to observe the mind. Everything what comes in the mind comes from Krishna. So Krishna says, I'm in everyone's heart, and for me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Everything you know, everything you forget, is coming from Krishna. So the devotee learns to see what pops up in his mind and looks at it before acting. Look at it. That's what I'm going to do with it. Material desire pops up. And the devotee observes his mind and recognizes, oh, that's a material desire. I don't want it. It disappears. But the materialistic person, the Kanishta mostly, he doesn't have that capacity, and the emotions come up and he thinks these are my emotions. One becomes attached. And that attachment connects one to this world and is a source of great suffering. That important to understand this knowledge. Practicing is not so easy. And then the Kanishta understands at least, yes, the Lord is in the deity. And the second, the Madhyamadikar, he sees the Lord, and he sees that the Lord is in everyone's heart. and that everyone has a relationship with the Lord. Many don't know it, but the Lord is in our heart. And the devotee starts to think before doing something, what does Krishna wants me to do? An interesting question. That Anonymous used to say that yes, he said, he asked Prabhupada, how do I know what Krishna wants me to do? And Srila Prabhupada looked upon him with compassion and said, you will do the wrong thing. So in the beginning stages, we just do the wrong thing because we identify with the situation. We cannot see it from a distance and think, does Krishna wants me to do? Does my spiritual master wants me to do? So by that we must learn what's favorable for the devotees, for the devotional service, what not favorable. And that knowledge is what the beginner must know. And that you will learn in nectar of instruction. Upadesamrita, what to do, what not to do. Of course, then the Uttamadika sees the Lord is everywhere and everyone is serving Krishna. He does not see the material energy. He sees only Krishna is acting to everyone. And he's so absorbed in his devotional service of the Lord that he does not notice the material energy. So if you think that everyone is on the highest platform, you cannot preach. It's interesting. I heard that Karakeshwar Das Babaji, he was sitting somewhere chanting, and children started to throw stones to him. And that thing went on for some time. And then Karakeshwar Das Babaji stood up and became angry. And he shouted, Krishna, stop throwing these stones. He summoned Krishna. He saw Krishna was doing that. Good. So paragraph 4 to 7. So we will read part of it. It is clearly mentioned in this 6th mantra that one should observe or systematically see. This means that one must follow the previous acharyas, the perfected teachers. Anupashati is the exact Sanskrit word used in this connection. Anu means to follow and Pashati means to observe. Thus the word Anupashati means that one should not see things as he does with the naked eye, but should follow the previous acharyas. Due to material defects, the naked eye cannot see anything properly. One cannot see properly unless one is heard from a superior source. That the Vedic, and the high source is the Vedic wisdom, which is spoken by the Lord himself. Vedic truths are coming in disciplic succession from Lord Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyas, and from Vyas to many disciples. So that's clear. Then he speaks about Srimad Bhagavatam and natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. We'll come to that. Yeah, that's the purpose of Varnashram, that materially we are all different, but spiritually we are all equal spirit souls. That according to that is Varnashram, that's Varnashram is organized according to karma and guna and karma. Guna is our psychophysical nature, and karma means acting according to our psychophysical nature. Then we will feel satisfied on a material platform, peaceful, and on that platform we can practice spiritual life. So the 4 ashrams that will be addressed also in the Bhagavad Gita. But that is what it said here, Anupashyati. So I read that point again. Anupashyati means to follow. So we cannot perceive the absolute truth, but we can know the absolute by following the previous acharyas, by hearing their instructions, that we can see to their eyes. So the Shastra here. So at present, there are many commentaries to reveal scriptures, but most of them are not in the line of disciplic succession, it is said. The most important works are Srimad Bhagavatam, Natural Commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita. That there is a complete agreement amongst the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Vedas, and Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And one should try to reach any conclusion. No one should try to reach any conclusion about the Vedas without receiving instructions from the members of Vyasadev's disciplic succession, who believes in the personality of Godhead and its diverse energies as they are explained in his ISOPANISAD. So there is only one message, and that is the Vedas. Krishna says was the goal of the Vedas. Vedasa sarvarame bhaveti abhimantakit vidaviti vachan. I'm to be known by the Vedas, to the purpose of the Vedas. I'm the knower of the Vedas, Krishna says, and I'm the compiler of the Vedas. Vyasadeva is Sakya Veda, compiled the Vedas. So they have one message which we find in Bhagavad Gita. Manmana, always think of Krishna. If you always think of Krishna, Bhavama Bhakto, you become his devotee. And when you become his devotee, Matsai, you worship him. Bring them to devotional service. But then the Uttamadikar, first Srila Prabhupada writes here, one should not try to imitate them. But the Uttamadikar sees the spirit soul within the material body and serves him as spirit. So Krishna consciousness means acting as a spirit soul and not as the body, as a spirit soul, that not the body. And seeing others as spirit soul and treat them as spirit souls. So the beginning of that is understanding I'm not this body. This body is Krishna's energy. And everything around me is also Krishna's energy. It's not mine. I have no right to enjoy it. So I use it in the service of Krishna for his enjoyment. That's spiritual vision. And that's the Isavasya principle we explained here in the beginning of this course. God is the controller of everything, the owner and the enjoyer. And that vision, if we can develop that, that's very beneficial. Anupashyati. Yeah, these are different. Yeah. Materialists say seeing is believing, but that's not going to help you. Seeing is believing. No. We must come to Anupashyati. So Madhvacharya speaks about this one message, Veda Eka Vakyate. He says the scripture is omniform, that it adds multi-level messages, which seems contradictory to the uninformed, but is seen as complementary to the well-informed. So Bhagavad Gita is also like that. And it's important to understand that you will hear in Bhagavad Gita about a materialist, pious materialist, karma kandis. And then you will hear about the jnanis who want to become detached from this world. And then you want to hear that then Krishna speaks to another level, to the yogis who see Paramatma everywhere. And then speaks about bhakti yogi, the devotees. But he wants these are multi-level messages. He preaches to the materialists to them to be pious. If they are pious, then they will be less sinful and they will want to understand who they are. Then they become jnanis. And then when they are jnanis, they will purify themselves by knowledge. And then they want they understand I'm a spirit soul, not a body. And then they want to experience being a spirit soul and they become yogis. And then the yogis, when they become advanced by their Ashtanga yoga practice, and they come to Samadhi, they find a super soul in their heart. And that's super soul realization. But Krishna at the end of Bhagavad Gita will say, you give all these things up. Because it's good, you are a yogi, you have super soul realization, you find the super soul in your heart. And what happens then? You stay in this material world. To get out of it, Krishna says, only by Ananya Bhakti, by pure devotional service. You must develop love for Krishna to go back to Vaikuntha. Otherwise, you remain rotating in this cycle of samsara. That's what Krishna explains. But not everyone is ready to accept Krishna. So therefore, he preaches also to these impersonalists, the jnanis, and to these yogis. And he says at the end to the yogis, yoginam apisavsam matchinam pratnam shodva vajteyam samayuktatamam. Highest yogi is one who is always united with me in the heart, with love. Okay, that is mantra 6. We have 5 minutes for questions. Any question? It's a big topic. Yes. Yeah, sure.
Yes, you told, you gave an example. One yearly, he is the Uttamodhikari level. And example was some children throwing stone to him. And then he told Krishna, why are you throwing stone to him? Because he sees Krishna to regular. So children, he is also looking at that level.
Yeah, he sees the children it sees that Krishna is doing that, and Krishna is doing that. And that's ultimate reality. It's another level of reality. Krishna controls the modes of nature. He's in the heart of his children and makes them throwing stones to them. Of course, children, they are identified with the body, so it's all Krishna acting to the modes, and he sees only Krishna.
At that moment, actually, I don't have that expectation or judgment in myself. What is my status right now? But is it going to stop the children throwing stone when he asks Krishna why he's throwing stone?
He's not asking that his children stop throwing stones. It's just this rasa, his emotions with Krishna, his love for Krishna comes out. And he says to Krishna, don't do that. Why are you throwing stones to me? He's on the level of prema. He doesn't see good and bad in this world anymore. So the throwing of the stones for him, good or bad, is even not aware. The Uttamadika is not aware of the body. It's like a drunken man. A drunken man is not aware whether he wears his clothes or not. And like that, that's the example Krishna himself gives in Uddhav Gita of the Uttamadika.
It happens in our life all the time.
That
Stone all the time. So then you have to be in that platform to ask Krishna. If it's not, then
we cannot imitate that.
No,
imitate that level. That this is the Uttamadika platform. That if someone throws stones to it, we must protect ourselves. It's interesting. Yeah, it's Uttamadika, it's Paramamsas.
I want to ask a few things. First is, can you say that the main difference between Krishna and Madhyamadika is that how they deal with the devotees? Because in these verses,
yeah, so the question is, can we conclude here that the difference between the Madhyam and the Kanishta is how they deal with devotees? It's not the only difference, but again, Srila Prabhupada wants us to act on the Madhyam platform, to act. Because to make, as a preacher, you must know who is envious, who is not envious, to preach effectively. And you must have love for devotees and Krishna. So that's the Madhyam Adhikar platform. But if we preach, we try to practice that. And then we act on the Madhyam platform. We are acting on that platform, but we are not yet on that platform. These are two different things. Acting as a Madhyam Adhikar and being on the Madhyam Adhikar platform. So the behavior itself does not say everything. There's an inner realization that, and it is finally the Brahma Buddha platform of liberation. But if you act always on the Madhyam platform as a preacher, you will, it's the highway to have that inner realization. Therefore, Prabhupada wants us to preach. That's the highway, the highway, the quick way to come to that platform. And that is important to understand. Because that's mostly a misconception by devotees. They think, I'm preaching, I'm a Madhyam Adhikar. No, you are acting as a Madhyam Adhikar. But if we come in this life to the Madhyam platform, then Madhurika Namini says, yes, then most of your gross desires are gone. So a devotee asks Srila Prabhupada, if you are 90% pure, will Krishna accept us? Srila Prabhupada said, yes. Then the devotee said, and 80% Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, but he went not lower than 80%. So you must have some purity. And then that means you come close to this Madhyamadikar. And then you are free from material desires. And you start to become attached to Krishna. And then when you leave your body, you will think of Krishna. Then you can think of Krishna. Clarifies that? Okay.
I also wanted to ask in this regard, because in the different places we see the description may be a little bit different. Let's say in some place if you show that Madhyam is very, very high platform, some places the definition is a little bit more liberal. So you mentioned that in Kanishta also there are different levels. Can you mention something more about this?
Yeah, Kanishta, you have, for your information, you have from Shraddha to Prema. And you have 9 categories. Shraddha, but Sadhusanga, Vajnakriya, Anartha Nivritti. That's all the domain of the Kanishta. But then when you come at Madhyam, when you come at Nishta, that's liberated. That's the platform, the Madhyam, the perfected Madhyam. Because when you have Nishta, then very quickly you get Ruchi, taste, and Asakti. And then you reach Bhava and Prema, the Uttamadikar. Is that clear? But also in terms of chanting the holy name, maybe I'm going too deep in the philosophy, because I'm explaining that to you because I know you know Mathurya Kanambini, but this is very deep philosophy. But in terms of Harinam Chintamani, there's the Kanishta, he must come to a certain moment of chanting Namabhas, chanting without offenses. And when the chanting from Namabhas purifies the heart and comes completely liberated, then one comes to Nishta. And then the Harinam Chintamani said, then you will chant the pure name, the Sudanam. And that will purify you further. Then from there, love of God, it will develop quickly. So you will become Ruchi Asakti. Asakti is a super soul realization, the highest of the yogis. And Nishta is a Brahman realization. So we must also see these things in terms of Brahman realization, super soul realization, and Bhagavan realization. But of course, in some sense, they both have Bhagavan realization from the beginning, but it matures really. And one becomes an Uttamadika. You understand what I want to say? That I would say that what I told you now in 2 minutes, it's a whole month course to really understand it. That's because then the course of Madhurya Kanambini, the whole course of Harinam Chintamani, trying to understand all the, but it's important after Bhakti Shastri, I would say, every time everyone can go to it, and then you will understand your own position. That otherwise we have misconceptions of where we are in the post. Okay, good. Yes.
It's so with the edition as Madhyamadikari, it's the 10 offenses out of 10. 9th offenses is like you should not approach to the people who do not have any faith on, at least thought that. So it's falling the Madhyamadikari.
Well, but by that, it's acting as the Madhyamadika. Yes, Krishna wants us to act as a Madhyamadika, acting as. It's not. So we have to follow that now and learn to act as a Madhyamadika. That's what Prabhupada wanted us. Therefore, he gave us this preaching movement. It's a tool for us. We give Krishna consciousness to others. We spoke about in the first, in the invocation, Om Purnamada Purnam, that, and we spoke about spiritual mathematics. So 1 minus 1 is 1. If you preach and you give Krishna consciousness to others, you give it away. And Krishna gives you the realization to the heart. 1 minus 1 is 1. That beautiful reciprocation. Good. We will go to the next. It's okay. Mantra 7, right? Mantra 7. So we have our overview again. We are in section 2, 4 to 8, trying to understand Ishvara by spiritual vision. And in the second part, how to develop spiritual vision. Mantra 7. Yasmin sarvati bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanata tatra komaka soka ekatvana pashyata. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. Then, what then can be illusion or anxiety for him? So this is the purport, the oneness between the energy and energetic, oneness in quality, not quantity, that oneness in interest, special interest, a separate interest goes to suffering, so come on, and become one in interest with God. This is the overview. Okay. Text 7. So, realizing our oneness in quality with the absolute truth brings detachment. So we are one in quality. Krishna is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means always blissful. But the soul is also Sat Chit Ananda. We are not his body. The soul is made of the same substance. It's also eternal, and in its normal condition, we are full of knowledge and bliss. We lost that now because our consciousness became polluted by the three modes of nature. But that pollution, removing that pollution is a process of Krishna consciousness. We remove that pollution by Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, process of 64 activities in Krishna consciousness, which you will learn in Nectar of Devotion. That these 64 items of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. That and by the practice of devotional service, we become detached from this world because we become attached to Krishna. And by that detachment, we start to realize our own qualities of the spirit soul, Sat Chit Ananda. Yeah. That's so. In this mantra, the words ekatvam anupashyata indicate that one should see the unity of all living entities from the viewpoint of the revealed scriptures. The individual sparks of the Supreme Whole possess almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they are not quantitatively equal to the Lord. these quantities are present in minute quantity in the living entity. So Srila Prabhupada gives the example, you take a drop of salt of the ocean, you put it under on the microscope and you analyze it, and you will find there is salt in it. By that we can understand how much salt there is in the ocean. So by studying the drop, we can know the whole ocean. So by that, we can understand how insignificant we are. And that brings humility. If we read and study Bhagavad Gita, and we start to understand it, we understand that we are conditioned, controlled by material nature. And that is Maya, this material energy, is very powerful, very powerful. And that we are not in any way able to get rid of this control of material nature on our own endeavor. That's not sufficient. We need Krishna's mercy, which flows to the submission to the spiritual master. So yes. So Ekatvam does not mean that we are the Supreme Lord. No. That Ekatvam means that we are one in quality, or we are made of the same substance. But in quantity, big difference. We are minute and Krishna is unlimited. That's the difference. So we cannot be equal with the Supreme Lord. But it's like, but we have, it means also Ekatvam that we have one interest. Like Srila Prabhupada gives the example, like all the members of the family have worked for the interest of the family. The citizens of the nations work for the interest of the nations. Yes, that's all there. So Srila Prabhupada explains that every living being is the son of the Supreme Being. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, all living creatures throughout the universe, including birds, reptiles, ants, aquatic trees, and so on, are emanations of the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all of them belong to the family of the Supreme Being. There is no clash of interest. So, these are examples given here. The fire and the light is in the beginning of the purport. That's Srila Prabhupada, yes. He explains, yes. Living entities are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, just as sparks of fire are qualitatively one with the Lord. Yet, sparks are not fire as far as quantity is concerned, for the quantity of heat and light is present in the spark and not equal in the fire. Yes. The sun god. The sun is considered as Krishna. Then is the fiery radiance around its orbit is Parupa Sakti. Yeah. Its rays are marginal energy. So the fire, the sun is fire, and that is form, is Parupa. But this is energy. And then from that, because you have the deity of the sun, and that is his Svarupish form, the sun. And the race comes, that's the Sakti. But then we are in a room, and there's, you have sunshine and you have the shadow, that the sun's reflection. That's Bhairanga, that's the external energy. So that's the point. The 6 Goswamis, for our understanding, have explained that in this way, that the Lord is Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, 3 levels, but Brahman is his spiritual energy, and Paramatma is his expansion. So they are all the absolute truth. But then Jiva Goswami said the absolute truth has its energies. And that's what impersonalists cannot understand, that God has its energies. They see it all as energy, Brahma, so God has its energies. But so he has his energies, and the living entities are part of this energy, are parts of Krishna. It's called Tatastha Sakti. We are marginal because we are very tiny and Krishna is unlimited. But we are, as marginal parts of Krishna, we can either connect with Krishna or connect with the spirit, with the material energy. So we can be connected with this Bhairanga Shakti, the Maya, the external energy, or with the Antarangi Shakti, the spiritual energy. And that's Krishna consciousness teaches us how to connect again with the spiritual energy. That's yoga, that bhakti yoga. So there is not just unity in diversity, but diversity in unity. Rasa dance, that's an example. All the gopis, they had a different service, different relationship with Krishna, different moods. And sometimes that clashes, Chandravali and Radharani. Because Radharani said, Chandravali, she said, I am Krishna's. Srimati Radharani said, no, Krishna is mine. The different disagreement. But Krishna played his flute, and they were all so attracted to his flute that they had to come. And then they came, and Krishna said, why did you come? Of course, he played his flute, and they could not desist of going. But then he says, why did you come? In the forest, there are so many dangerous animals, and you should buy your husband, take care of him, and take care of your children. No need to come here. You think of me, and I'm in your mind. I'm always with you. So the gopis were thinking he wants us to become yogis, and first he attracts us, then he says go home. So they were not very happy. But they cooperated all together in the rasa dance. They were united because they all loved Krishna in different moods, so that's unity in diversity. It's also important in our movement, unity in diversity, that best if you want to make advancement, don't go into controversial issues in ISKCON. I've seen Tasakanishta, they go into that. and they fight about all these issues. But I've seen most have not read Srila Prabhupada's books. That's the beginning of understanding spiritual life, is Bhakti Shastri. Bhakti Shastri, studying of these books is meant to change our heart. That so as a Kanishta, don't go into these things. That it's a lost battle. You will block your spiritual advancement. And just unity in diversity. Respect different opinions. It's not that we have control over the absolute truth. Anyway, it's my observation. Unity in diversity is very important. That neophyte fight with its others about all these things. That you have the right to say, no, I'm not going into that. Sorry, Prabhu. Talk about something else, not about these things. That it's a waste of time, and our life is short. But work together in the mission to spread Krishna consciousness. That should be our focus. Don't deviate on these things. So these are not merging, but meeting. This is the, let's see, 3:9:11. 3:29:11. Yeah, that's teachings of Kapila Dev 3:29. The manifestation of unadulterated devotional service is exhibited when one's mind is at once attracted to hearing the transcendental name and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is residing in everyone's heart. Just as the water of the Ganges flows naturally down towards the ocean, such devotional ecstasy, uninterrupted by any material condition, flows toward the Supreme Person. So that's the idea, that our mind becomes undeviated from Krishna. Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, you will find in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, one should organize our lives as such that we cannot do anything else than thinking of Krishna 24 hours. That our mind always flows to Krishna. Now, 1:8:42, devotee's perspective. Let's see, 1:8. Well, 1:8, there's a pair of quoting. What's the number?
42.
42. Yeah, I know the verse that going to the Ganges. The Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn to you without being diverted to anyone else. We should pray to the Lord like this. Let me always think of me. Let my conscience always go to you. So that's, we don't want to merge with the ocean, but we want to merge our mind always in thinking of Krishna. So is the purport of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, 1842, we can read that, 1842. Vishwanath, no. Don't have this purport here. Anyway, good conclusion. So, we have here. Please. No, there is no title. That was. So, object, vision, consequence, example. Object is material, that everything in this world is material, so all objects are material. If we see them as material, we will get bondage. That people get attracted to sense objects. Dayate visyapum sankesti subhajayate sangha sanyate kama kamakod vajayate. Bhagavad Gita 2:62. Material attractions begins with dayate, meditation. On what? On the sense objects. Then you become attracted. And then lust develops. You want to enjoy, and then the bondage comes. But then the next level is one start to understand the difference. There's the process of developing the spiritual vision. One start to understand the difference between material and spiritual. So one starts to perform, one starts to see that everything belongs to Krishna. It can be used in his service. That, so Srila Prabhupada, when he was traveling, he was sometimes seeing buildings, and he said, oh, that would be nice to be a temple here in that building. Or he saw a flatbed truck, big truck and it's flat. And he was thinking, oh, let's use it for Ratha Yatra. So that's one's vision on the material world becomes spiritual in terms of this Isavasya principle, how to use it in Krishna's service. But of course, if this material vision is applied to spiritual objects like the deity, it becomes offensive. We think it's just a statue. That's an offensive vision. The deity is Krishna. But at least the Kanishta, he understands that the deity is Krishna. And then the Madhyam, the Uttamadhikari, is spiritual. He sees no material things in this world. It's all spiritual. It's all Krishna's energy. His vision is spiritual. He feels ecstasy at every moment. And he sees the deity as non-different from Krishna. So these are different spiritual, different visions we can have and which we develop healthy. Okay. That was 7. We will see now. We can get 8. 8 is here. It's the last mantra for today. So again, we come point 8. This vision developed further and directed to Ishvara helps us to understand us. Helps us to understand him. How does it develop further? So we will first read mantra 8. Sapariyarak Sukramakayam Avranam Ashnavyam Sudha Pavavida Kavirmanasi Paribus Vambuch Yasa Tayatoritan Yadadakshat Fatibya Samabhya. Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. So that is very interesting. A lot of information about the absolute truth as a person, and Srila Prabhupada analyzes every Sanskrit words, the Sanskrit words of this verse. First is Akayam, unembodied, Sukram, omnipotent, Yata Tatya Drachtam, he fulfills all desires, Paribu is the supreme, Swayambhu is self-sufficient, Sudam is antiseptic, and Apapavidam, prophylactic. We will discuss these points. But, so first, Natasya Pratim Asti. So first is Svatasvatara Upanishad. No one can grasp him above, across, or in the middle. His name is great glory. So the translation from Natasya Pratim should be Natasya Pratim. Nothing can compare with the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality. So, nothing can compare with the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one can grasp him above, across, or in the middle. His name is great glory. So I first read a part of the purport. So this is a description of the transcendental form of the Lord. Of course, we know in Brahma Samhita, Satchitananda Viha, that Anadiradi Govinda, Sarvakarana Karanam, that this is described is transcendental, full of knowledge and bliss, that it does not have a form like us. This means that the Lord can walk with his hands, accept things with his legs, see with his hands, eat with his eyes. So in the Shruti mantras, it is also said that although the Lord has no hands and legs like ours, he has a different type of hands and legs. He can accept that all what we offer him and run faster than anyone. This confirms, these points are confirmed in the 8th Sun mantra with the word Sukram. Sukram, omnipotent. That sense, yes. Then so it's omnipotent, Yata Tayato Artan is a fulfiller of all desires. So when we came to this world, Krishna came with us because we wanted to enjoy without him. And we wanted to be the enjoyer, what is his position. Then Krishna arranged, yes, you want to be enjoyer. There's one problem, I'm the enjoyer. But no problem, I make you forget that I'm there. But still he stays with us to fulfill even our material desires. So he's a fulfiller of all desires. If we want to go back to Krishna, then he will also fulfill our desires. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that those who are captivated by the temporary beauty of the external energy forget the real aim of life, which is going back to get it. Forgetting this, we try to adjust things and make various plans, but this is like the chewing, because it had already been chewed. Nonetheless, the Lord is so kind that he allows the forgetful living entity to continue in this way without interference. Thus, this mantra of ISOPANISAD uses the very appropriate word yata ta tyata, indicating that the Lord rewards living entities just in the pursuing of their desires. If a living entity being wants to go to hell, the Lord allows him to do so without interference. Yes. And then the word paribu said, the greatest of all, no one is greater or equal than him. Other living beings are described there as beggars who ask goods from the Lord. The Lord supplies the things the living entity desires. If entities were equal to the Lord in potency, if they were omnipotent and omniscient, there would be no question of their begging from the Lord for so-called liberation. Liberation means going back to God. See here. Yeah, that's some points. Yeah, Artapati. This is logic. If a third statement resolving two contradictory statements, like Ravi does not eat through the day. So Ravi's weight is increasing and he does not eat. So Artapati, so it must be that Ravi eats secretly at night. And that the third statement explains the second, the first and the second. So that's the explanation. Now, if we apply this to the following, God has no form, arupya, and God has many forms, urupya, artapatis. God has no material form, but has many spiritual forms. That's the explanation. So God's form is spiritual. It does not have veins like us. Of course, when we in the Mahabharata, we have seen that as Bhishmadev was attacking Krishna and there came blood out of his body. But that is Krishna's arrangement for the rasa. His body is spiritual, but blood appears. That just for the pastime. Like when in the 12th canto you read about Krishna leaving this world, and Jara, this hunter, he shoots an arrow, and then Krishna leaves that he leaves so-called his body, but Krishna is everything. He cannot leave everything. He's in every atom. But he leaves so-called his body, but then it's described how in his former armed forms he goes up to heaven with all his heavenly weapons, and so many associates come with him, because after that he had promised to visit Brahma first on his planet. And that's all in the Bible, that he has not a body like this. Yes. It's from the Untitled Upanishad. He has no eyes, but he sees. So how can he see? So the Ashtapatis, he must have spiritual eyes. Actually, I'm unembodied. So the word kaya has connotations that don't apply to the Lord's form. Kaya is body. So it is, our body is real, is separate from our real person, the soul. And our body has to be given up in some time. And it tends to degrade our attachment to this body, degrades us. That it forces the soul to run after material desires. And this body is a product of our past karma. But Krishna has none of these things. So this is karma, deva, phala. Yeah, that's anyway, Sudam. Let's first go on to these last terms. That Sudam and Apapa Vidam. Sudam means antiseptic. So when you have Krishna in your mind, he's antiseptic. Your mind will become, and your heart will become purified when you have Krishna in your mind. That is Sudam, or antiseptic. So if we want to purify our mind, we must think of Krishna. If we want to purify our intelligence, we have to hear about Krishna. So Krishna is Sudam, antiseptic. But when you have Krishna in the mind, it's not only antiseptic, it's apapa vidam. He acts like, he's prophylactic. Prophylactic means he acts like a vaccine. Very popular these days, vaccine. He's a vaccine because when you think about Krishna, nothing else can come in your mind of the contamination of this world. It protects you. It's important to understand these two terms. Yeah, many times questions on the exam. Explain why Krishna is Sudam, antiseptic, and Apapavidam, prophylactic. Sudam means antiseptic. Krishna purifies the mind and heart. And Apapavidam, the vaccine, means if you think of Krishna, nothing else can come in. So sannyasis like Sukadev Goswami, Paramahamsa, and like Lord Chaitanya, who was taking the role of sannyas, they're in the mood of the gopis and the thinking of the gopis. So that was purifying, that purifies them. But to do that, you must already be near to the liberated platform. If you're immature, go to the 10th canto, hearing about the gopis, then it will not purify you if you are too contaminated in your mind. It will purify you. It will be devastating. So not immaturely we should go to this hearing of the Rasa Lila. First go to the first 10 cantos so that you become purified. And that's a warning given by Sukadev Goswami. A warning given by Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Pariksit. Because at the end of the 9th canto, there all the dynasties are described. Well, the Soma dynasty, the Surya dynasty, all these kings with their names. And then at a certain moment in the Soma dynasty, Krishna and Balarama is being mentioned. So in the beginning of the 10th canto, in 10 line 4, there Sukadev, well, before the first verses, Maharaj Pariksit asked Sukadev Goswami, please tell me, I want to hear more about Krishna. Sukadev Goswami replied, Nirvita Darser Bhagyamanat Vavasadat Shotva Manobhiramat. Nirvita Darser, are you free from lust? Nirvita Darser, yeah. Vavasadak. Vavasadak means medicine. Did you take sufficiently your medicine? Of Vavasadak Shotva Manobhiramat. Shotva by hearing and thinking of Krishna. Thinking. Are you purified by thinking of Krishna sufficiently? That's, yes, Sudam, anti-septic. So yes, that's mantra 8. And tomorrow evening we will start the next session. So, thank you very much. Any question on these last verses? Yeah.
One quote was here, not a quote monastic. So there is it says we cannot make any form of Krishna, but then also say Krishna do not have any form like us, but he has a spiritual form.
Yes.
So we see the deity in our temple. So then definitely this is spiritual form. We can't think about immaterial form because Krishna don't have any material form.
Yeah, the deity is not different from Krishna. Krishna is all pervading, so he must also be the deity. So the deity is not different from Krishna, but you have these different visions which we discussed of the deity. If you see the deity as a statue, it will be a statue for you. But that's what these verses are about, spiritual vision. Krishna is in every atom, so he's also in the deity. And he will reciprocate as Krishna if you accept him in that form. And he will accept our service. And we can pray to him. It's to accept our service. That is the point. But yes, we have different kinds of deities. Yeah, even deities made of clay, temporary deities. Srila Prabhupada said deities made of jewels, of stones, in wood. But Krishna, out of his kindness, accepts his forms. If the forms are made according to the scriptures, and worshipped according to the Pancharatma, Krishna is very happy to accept our service in that form. But there are rules and regulations that we have to abide by that. That the deity has to be made as described in the scripture. And Krishna gives descriptions in his form, that he gives a nice description in the 11th canto, chapter 13, I think. No, 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter 13. It's a beautiful. Also, Lord Kapiladev gives at the end of the 3rd chapter beautiful description. That then also in the 2nd canto, Sukadev Goswami describes how to meditate on Krishna and describes in detail. All these descriptions are there. In the 11th canto, Krishna explains to Uddhava personally how to do deity worship. Oh, with so many details. And we apply all of this. It's beautiful. Good, something else? Yes.
Well,